There are four main forms of Vipassana. The first is the Vipassana of non-Buddhist traditions and is found primarily in India. These non-Buddhist traditions practice Vipassana to pacify and eliminate most of the obvious afflictions. The second is the Vipassana that the Buddha taught to the sravakas and pratyekabuddhas who could not understand the profound or vast meanings. This refers to the practitioners of the lesser vehicle. Their wisdom is limited, their minds are narrower, and they cannot generate the great aspiration. They can listen to teachings such as the essentials for purifying the mind, which we studied at noon. However, when it comes to teachings like all phenomena are empty in nature, or everything arises from the mind, they are unwilling to hear. They might leave the Dharma assembly saying to the Buddha, "Goodbye, we are going to practice the path of liberation." As for deeper teachings, they don't want to hear, cannot absorb, and don't understand. The third is the Vipassana of the Bodhisattvas who follow the 6 paramitas. These teachings are profound and vast. For beings in this degenerate age, this is very profound and difficult. That is why I don't recommend you spend too much time meditating on this area. Of course, you should still study some aspects, such as the perfection of patience. To contemplate these topics, you must first arouse bodhicitta. To practice Mahayana teachings, one must first cultivate bodhicitta. Only after developing qualified bodhicitta can one practice the 6 paramitas, which are bodhicitta in action. Paramita means bodhicitta. The paramita of generosity, for example, is generosity motivated by bodhicitta. Only with bodhicitta can one ultimately reach the other shore. Paramita means that which reaches the other shore. With bodhicitta, one will arrive at the other shore directly and ultimately. Bodhicitta is the essential boat for crossing to the other shore. It is the sole decisive cause, and nothing else will suffice. Some translate paramita as reaching the other shore, but in my view, interpreting it as bodhicitta conveys the meaning more precisely. Paramita means bodhicitta. The paramita of generosity means generosity driven by bodhicitta, and the last one, prajna paramita, refers to the ultimate bodhicitta. Prajna refers to emptiness. Bodhicitta is skillful means, and prajna paramita is the union of compassion and wisdom. We should have heard of prajna paramita. The third type of Vipassana, the Vipassana of the Bodhisattvas, is not easy. It requires practicing the 6 perfections and bodhicitta. These teachings are extremely profound and vast. In this lifetime, we may develop some conviction, but achieving accomplishment is not easy. The fourth is the Vipassana of the Vajrayana, also known as the Mantrayana, which uses bliss as a special method for quickly attaining realization. The Mantrayana requires mantra recitation, which is even more demanding. It builds upon the previous types of Vipassana, especially the third one. Without studying and practicing the 6 perfections, as included in the third type of Vipassana, mantra recitation is merely a non-Buddhist act. non-Buddhist mantra recitation may summon hail or even cause death. This becomes an act of cursing, not a Vajrayana practice. Therefore, if you study the Vajrayana directly without a proper foundation, you are practicing a non-Buddhist path, not a Buddhist one. You must first go through the three vehicles, the path of liberation, then the Bodhisattva path, cultivating the Mahayana wisdom of emptiness and bodhicitta. Only then can you practice the Vajrayana. Only at that stage does mantra recitation become effective. This is why I often emphasize, do not rush to practice. You must first generate bodhicitta. Without bodhicitta, reciting any mantra is of little use. The Vajrayana is the fourth vehicle, built on the foundation of the Bodhisattva vehicle. Without the Bodhisattva vehicle, one cannot study the Vajrayana. It is also called the Mantrayana, which involves reciting the mantras of Buddhas and Bodhisattvas. The deities in Vajrayana practices are Sambhogakaya Buddhas. In the Vajrayana, the Buddhas mostly appear in Sambhogakaya form. What does the Sambhogakaya Buddha mean? Only Bodhisattvas who have reached the first bhumi can perceive Sambhogakaya Buddhas. When we see images of Sambhogakaya Buddhas, we are simulating the experience of being Bodhisattvas on the bhumis. Bodhisattvas on the first bhumi and beyond perceive Buddhas in Sambhogakaya form. Hence, what they study is all esoteric and can be called the Vajrayana. What we are doing now is simulating that experience, visualizing ourselves as Bodhisattvas on the bhumis and directly engaging in deity practice. Only in this way can we say we are practicing the Vajrayana. It can be explained like this. To practice the Vajrayana, you must possess insight, bodhicitta, and profound wisdom of emptiness, especially bodhicitta. Only then can you truly connect with the deities while reciting mantras and be qualified to practice guru devotion. Without the Bodhisattva vehicle as the foundation, practicing guru devotion is undoubtedly a non-Buddhist act. This is why some people criticize the tantric teachings. Without studying the Mahayana, a follower of the lesser vehicle is likely to regard the Vajrayana as non-Buddhist. Since they study the Four Noble Truths and meditate on non-self, when they see guru devotion, they may think, this looks like a non-Buddhist practice. Non-Buddhists worship higher beings like Brahma, and you do the same. So isn't this a non-Buddhist practice? Without eradicating self-grasping, studying the Vajrayana inevitably invites demons. For this reason, such individuals cannot practice it. In some places, tantric teachings are not taught because the students lack the necessary capacity. If they attempt to practice, they will be afflicted by demons. In the Vipassana of non-Buddhist traditions, one contemplates the peaceful and coarse aspects. For example, one might meditate on a coarse affliction such as anger. Through this meditation, one comes to realize that anger harms both oneself and others, and that without it, the mind would be peaceful and happy. Thus, one can clearly see the benefits of being free from this obvious affliction and therefore overcoming it. This refers to practicing the four immeasurables, which non-Buddhists also practice, including immeasurable compassion and immeasurable loving-kindness. One may wonder if there is anything wrong with this non-Buddhist form of Vipassana. Actually, there is nothing wrong with it. It is called the common tradition because it is shared by both Buddhists and non-Buddhists. Although it is a non-Buddhist Vipassana, the Buddhist tradition also incorporates it, as it is a basic method for counteracting afflictions. Therefore, Buddhists can certainly practice it well. In the Buddhist tradition, this Vipassana is known as the worldly level of Vipassana because one recognizes the mind poisons and their faults and tries to make the mind still and stable. The goal of this practice is to calm the mind and subjugate the mind poisons rather than understand emptiness or the absence of self. By calming the mind, one eliminates the faults of the desire realm. Thus, one can reach the first level of mental stability in the form realm, known as the first dhyana. To attain the first dhyana, one must first subdue coarse afflictions. Those with intense greed or anger cannot enter the first dhyana. Therefore, it is essential to practice the 10 wholesome actions and the 4 immeasurables. I have seen them practice the 4 immeasurables, especially loving kindness and compassion. Through a virtuous mind, one can enter the first dhyana. Without a virtuous mind, it is impossible to enter it. The first dhyana allows one to suppress afflictions. In the first dhyana and above, the meditator is joyful and free from the afflictions of the desire realm. This is the first dhyana in the form realm, which is practiced in non-Buddhist traditions. However, it lacks the wisdom of selflessness. The Vipassana of the sravakas and pratyekabuddhas is for those who lack the necessary fortitude to attain perfect Buddhahood. Such individuals lack great aspiration and sufficient fortitude. Upon hearing that the path to Buddhahood is long, they become discouraged and seek a place to rest. This place is called the City of Nirvana. Along the way, they first find a town, a resting place called the Inn of Nirvana. These two kinds of enlightened beings follow the Hinayana tradition, and the difference between them is the accumulation of merit. While both belong to the lesser vehicle, pratyekabuddhas accumulate more merit than sravakas. In terms of samatha and vipassana meditation, the difference between these two types of practitioners is slight, as both meditate on the Four Noble Truths. The practices of sravakas and pratyekabuddhas are based on the Four Noble Truths, which are divided into 16 aspects. You should be familiar with the Four Noble Truths: suffering, origin, cessation, and path. Each truth is further divided into 4 aspects. With this type of vipassana, peace is based on the Four Noble Truths, which describe samsara and nirvana. The first truth, the truth of suffering, describes the nature of samsara. The second truth, the truth of origination, examines the cause of samsara, karma and afflictions. What is the cause of samsara? It is karma and afflictions. In the 12 links of dependent origination, ignorance gives rise to volitional formations. It is the root cause of samsara. The third truth, the truth of cessation, describes nirvana, the state that arises after karma and afflictions are eliminated. The fourth truth, the truth of the path, is about following and practicing the path that leads to nirvana. In the Vipassana of sravakas and pratyekabuddhas, one must understand the true nature of these four truths and their subcategories. The truth of suffering is divided into impermanence, suffering, absence of self, and emptiness. Similarly, the truths of origination, cessation, and the path are each divided into 4 parts, making a total of 16 subdivisions.